When a man pulls away, it often looks very simple from the outside. His messages slow down. The warmth fades a little. The conversations become shorter. And the connection that once felt alive suddenly feels uncertain. From the outside, it can look like he lost interest. But inside him, something very different may be happening. Because the moment a connection starts becoming emotionally real, many men experience something unexpected. A surge of feelings they didn't plan for. At the beginning of a connection, everything feels light. There's curiosity, attraction, a sense of exploration. Two people learning about each other without too much pressure. In those early moments, emotions stay manageable. Nothing feels too intense. Nothing feels too risky. But as time passes, something begins to change. Conversations grow deeper. Moments of closeness become more meaningful. The connection starts moving beyond casual attraction. And that's when a subtle shift can happen inside him. He begins to feel something real. Not just excitement, not just attraction, but emotional attachment. And emotional attachment introduces something powerful: vulnerability. Because when someone becomes emotionally important to you, their presence suddenly matters in a completely new way. Their reactions matter. Their absence matters. Their feelings matter. And if someone is not used to sharing emotional space with another person, that realization can feel overwhelming. Not in a dramatic way, not like panic, but like a quiet internal pressure building, a sense that something meaningful is forming. And meaningful connections come with risk. Risk of disappointment, risk of rejection, risk of loss. For many men, especially those who value emotional independence, this realization can feel destabilizing, because suddenly their emotional world is no longer entirely self-contained. Another person now has influence over how they feel, and that influence can feel both beautiful and frightening at the same time. Part of him may feel drawn closer, but another part may instinctively try to regain control. That's when the pulling away begins, not because the connection meant nothing, but because the connection suddenly means something important. When emotions grow faster than someone feels ready for, distance becomes a way to slow things down, a way to breathe, a way to think, a way to regain balance. From the outside, it may look like he stopped caring, but internally, he may simply be trying to understand emotions he didn't expect to feel so strongly. Because when feelings grow quickly, they can challenge the emotional habits someone has relied on for years. Habits like independence, self-reliance, emotional distance. So when closeness suddenly appears, those habits don't disappear overnight. Instead, they push back. And the result often looks like someone stepping away right after getting close. Not because the closeness was unwanted, but because it awakened feelings that suddenly feel too powerful to ignore. Inside that moment of distance, several emotions may be happening at the same time: confusion, vulnerability, and a strong desire to regain emotional stability. Because emotional closeness can create a feeling of losing control. Not control over the relationship, but control over one's own emotional balance. When someone is used to navigating life independently, strong emotional attachment can feel unfamiliar. It introduces unpredictability. Another person's choices, moods, and presence now affect how you feel. For someone who has spent years protecting their emotional independence, that shift can feel unsettling. So distance becomes a coping strategy, not necessarily a permanent decision, just a pause, a moment to step back and regain emotional clarity. From his perspective, this distance can feel necessary. Time to process what is happening internally. Time to understand feelings that suddenly feel more complex than expected. But from the outside, that same distance often feels painful. Because the person on the other side remembers the closeness, the openness, the moment where something real seemed to appear between two people. And when distance follows closeness, the mind naturally searches for explanations. Did I do something wrong? Did I push too hard? Did the connection mean less to him than it meant to me? But often, the truth is not about something that went wrong between the two people. The truth is that something inside him changed. The connection became meaningful enough to activate emotional defenses he didn't even realize he had. Those defenses are not always logical. They are patterns built from past experiences, moments where vulnerability led to disappointment, situations where emotional closeness felt overwhelming. Over time, those experiences teach the mind a simple lesson. Stay safe. Stay in control. Don't go too deep too quickly. So when a connection begins moving into deeper emotional territory, the instinct to slow things down appears almost automatically. That slowing down often looks like silence, less communication, more space, a shift in emotional openness. And while this distance can feel confusing, it doesn't always mean the connection disappeared. Sometimes it means the connection became real enough to challenge someone's emotional comfort zone, real enough to awaken feelings they didn't expect, real enough to make vulnerability visible. And when vulnerability becomes visible, people often pause, not because they want to lose the connection, but because they need time to understand what it means. So when a man pulls away, it does not always mean he stopped caring. Sometimes it means he started caring enough to feel something he isn't fully prepared to navigate yet.